Let's talk about money. A lot of money. Let's say $1 million. In my last video, it was on Keith Urban, who's covering my husband's song, Stephen Bishop, and how when Keith goes on tour, and if he performs it on tour, Stephen is going to get money, going to get a check, a few $1,000s per show while sitting in his pajamas. And a lot of you had a lot to say about that. There were other songwriters in my comments saying, hey, I have covered by so-and-so, and they perform in arenas all the time. I don't get anywhere near those numbers. And by the way, I did look them up, and they have a lot of split. 3, 4, 5, maybe even more writers, right? Stephen is the sole songwriter typically on most of his songs, so he gets 100%. Let's talk about how much Stephen gets paid from performing royalties, and we're actually pulling up the ASCAP portal. Stephen, are we okay to share these numbers?
Yeah.
Cool. Stephen's here, said yes. And let's go back to Phil Collins' 2018-2017 tour, Not Dead Yet, where Phil performed Stephen's song, Separate Live, to cover, and it went to #1 all over the world. We love Phil, but here are actual numbers over 2 years. So his last major tour, he did about 100 shows worldwide and grossed over almost $200 million, to average about $2 million per show. Stephen received approximately over 2 years on the writer side. There's writers and publishers. Now, Stephen owns 100%, right? Also for like Eric Clapton, when he tours, Stephen co-wrote the song Holy Mother with Eric Clapton. So Stephen gets half and Eric gets half. But he got $385,000 on the writer's side and $385,000 on the publishing side. So almost $800,000 while sitting in his pajamas at home while Phil is on tour, which is great. When you break it down even further, that's about $7,700 to $8,000 per show over 2 years for Stephen whenever Phil tours and performs that live. Also, one more question I want to address about like auditing, like who does that, right? So when I was a tour manager, I would bring it to the venue and be like, hey, here are the set lists, please submit it for me. And they would do that. Or when we got home or back to the hotel, I would go on ASCAP and you can submit your set list that night. Same thing with BMI, and it has to record. Now the venues, right? They have to pay a blanket license to ASCAP, BMI, and SESAC, and they will check. What happens? They will check if the venue does not pay, then they will shut them down, unfortunately, and it's anywhere from $1 a day to thousands of dollars a day, depending on the venue. Also, one more thing. A lot of people were addressing our relationship, which we think is hilarious, because I'm like, they're not in the relationship with us. We're just so interesting, Stephen.
I guess so.
I guess so, but it's our relationship and we're happy, so all right.